Welcome back to Horntie Studios for another episode of 666 Seconds of Murder. That means each one of these videos is less than 666 seconds or 11 minutes and 6 seconds. So let's get started. Going back to the Idaho 4 case, you guys like talking about this, so I'm going to give you what you want. Here we go. Talking about a tale of two Davids, old Sigma Chi. This is a good one. Remember, though, with each one of these videos, these are my speculations and opinions. I'm not saying anybody's guilty of anything. This is all alleged. We're just talking about a case that interests us, the Idaho 4. Now, I've done a video about the Frat Boy Theory, but some new information has come out to me, handed to me, and I thought it was necessary to do a follow-up video on the two Davids from the Sigma Chi fraternity. Huge thanks to Blogger Girl for doing some awesome research to help me tie some of this together. Now, David Loach has been part of the discussion from the very beginning. He's the guy we heard about who allegedly got into a fight with Ethan at the Sigma Chi fraternity the night before the crimes happened. We heard it because Ethan was making fun of the fact he was using steroids and that it was shrinking his testicles. We also heard Loach had a thing for Xana, so there was certainly some legitimate concern that he could have played a role in the crimes. He's allegedly pictured with K-bar knives at the frat house, and he's known to have a temper. But if it was true he was taking steroids, that certainly is a thing. What was his alibi? He said he was watching YouTube videos, so I guess that's cool he's watching YouTube, but he had the settings on autoplay, so we really don't know if he was actually there or not. Now, we also know about his sidekick, David Berriochoa, also known as Barry. He was David Loach's right-hand man, and allegedly in more ways than one. I remembered reading about one of the frat boys having a family that had a background in the professional cleaning business, but I couldn't recall where I read it. It turns out it was mentioned in that infamous 4chan post about the crimes. There was a lot of stuff that made those posts seem very real to me. Just had a really eerie feeling when I read those. So Blogger Girl discovered that David Berriochoa's father, Morrison or Maury Berriochoa, was part of the American Cleaning Service in Boise. They specialize in commercial cleaning. I had someone in the comments last week that said if there was a person who had knowledge and access to supplies that a company like that would have, they would definitely be able to clean things up in a party house so that there was only one speck of transfer DNA on a sheath and 3 unknown male DNA samples. And that's what made me think about this. I want to find out more about which frat boy it was and if that 4chan post was correct. And it turns out that it was. So did Barry have access to those products and equipment from Boise? Were they already there in Moscow ready for the job? Now, Boise's over a 5-hour drive away, so it's unlikely it is likely, they would have had all this stuff in place, especially if they knew this was going to happen. And of course, this is all speculation and alleged, right? We know that this crime most likely took some planning. So in my opinion, if Sigma Chi was involved in this, David Berriochoa's access to that stuff could have been part of the plan. His dad was not with the company, though, in 2022, but that's not saying David may not have had access or the knowledge to do a cleanup like this. Maybe he worked for the company during his summer breaks. I mean, I don't know that. It's just speculation. But why would they clean up? Well, they would have known about DNA, and in order to cover up their tracks, they would have needed to clean up any sign that they were there. The 4chan post mentioned wearing gloves and baggy clothes to throw away after the job was done. Maybe the two Davids were among the group of 4 kids running past the Banfield police body cam just after 3 a.m. Were they running? They were running from the house toward Sigma Chi. Another thing about Sigma Chi and the idea that this was likely planned out ahead of time. Remember the third Jack? Jack Katovich? He was also a member of Sigma Chi and a friend of Ethan. Now, Ethan's last Venmo transaction was a payment to him at 11:40 p.m., only hours before this happened. I'm not sure of the amount or what it was for, though, but what makes Jack Katovich a bit questionable is that his sister, Elizabeth or Liz, received a Venmo payment earlier that day from Molly G, and the caption read 3:30 a.m. How odd is that? That's the day before the crimes happened. In addition, to add to the strangeness of the Katovich siblings, Jack was the first one to donate to the memorial fund of Ethan in the amount of $6. Does seem like an odd amount. Maybe it was an inside joke, I don't know. The 3:30 a.m. caption is very strange. Could it be a way to let her know what time things were going to kick off on King Road? I mean, it could have been a way for them to communicate about the crimes in a way that they thought the police might not check. The sad thing is they were kind of right, because in my opinion, I don't think law enforcement did a damn thing about any of it. Now, Liz Katovich was a member of the Alpha Phi sorority, the same one that Kaylee Gonzalez belonged to. Another weird coincidence here, in my opinion. I mean, the Alpha Phi and Pi Phis were very likely part of this mess in some way, shape, or form. In my opinion, this case is full of all of these strange coincidences. So how many coincidences do there have to be before you start to think something is going on here? I mean, my gosh. If this house was professionally cleaned to hide evidence, then the fact that David Berriochoa had possible access to those supplies and equipment is certainly a bit concerning to me. They would have had plenty of manpower with the frat boys and the sorority girls. The 4chan post claimed they got rid of all the materials they cleaned up over the Christmas or Thanksgiving break when Barry went home to Boise. Is that true? We just don't know. But the other information that 4chan post was putting out was true. So was that true as well? We just don't know. We know that the frats and the sororities are organizations that are good at keeping secrets. So that would explain the fact that maybe nobody's come forward. But I'll admit, it seems rather odd after all this time no one has come forward at all. But if they were at all involved, anyone coming forward would be implicating themselves in the process. But if the prosecution was truly looking into who did this or how many people did this and prosecuting them, then maybe they would give somebody immunity to spill the beans on the whole thing. Who knows? I mean, maybe that will happen. Could this be the exculpatory evidence that Bethany Funk has? Did she see the cleanup crew show up that morning? Did she see the frat boys and sorority sisters there that night? So many questions with Bethany. I've heard a lot of rumor about the crimes happening off-site and then the bodies being moved to the house on King Road. And I thought that sounded a little bit far-fetched, but I guess anything is possible in this case. It could explain the lack of evidence they found there, but with an 8-hour delay in calling 911, certainly you could have made a lot of that stuff go away, especially with the cleanup crew there, and plenty of time to, stage a scene, clean up, come up with a story that they were going to tell the police. If you believe one person could have done these crimes in 10 minutes, then imagine how much a group of people could do in 8 hours. Maybe Brian Kohberger was somehow involved in helping them clean it up. I don't know. I mean, it's just a thought. Or was he with Bethany that night and he dropped her off at the house after they were done and he brought her home in the morning? mean, it's a disturbing story with plenty of twists and turns, so I think all things are on the table here. What do you guys think about it? Do you think that the Sigma Chi boys were involved? And does this professional cleanup sound something, have a legitimate ring to it? What do you think? I do want to say thank you to the Horntie Club. You guys are awesome. I appreciate your support very much. And I appreciate all of you guys that watch these videos. And we'll see you next time on 666 Seconds of Murder.